Hey everybody, and welcome to this special on Pluto going out of bounds while still in retrograde, and then Pluto going direct as well. So I'm going to talk about what all of that means. I'm Amani. I'm a karmic, holistic, astrological life coach, and I like to go in depth in all that I do. And all of my interpretations, especially when it comes to Venus, Mercury, Sun transits and everything really, are based on Vedic astrology, which is based on where the planets or the luminaries, which are the Sun and the Moon, are any given time in the sky. And all times are in GMT time as well. So yeah, thanks for listening, and yeah. So Pluto went retrograde on the 4th of May. It enters out of bounds while still retrograde on the 28th of August. And Pluto goes direct on the 14th of October, out of retrograde while still being out of bounds. Then Pluto leaves out of bounds in Capricorn on the 23rd of November. So this is all about Pluto's journey over the next 4 months. Okay. So Pluto goes out of bounds at 10 p.m. on the 28th of August. Pluto goes direct at 3:53 a.m. on the 14th of October, and then Pluto leaves out of bounds at 1:20 a.m. on the 23rd of November. So when Pluto goes direct and out of bounds, it's in the 8th degree of Capricorn, which has the Sabin symbol, birds in the house singing happily. Pluto stays out of bounds for 87 days and it turns direct while it is out of bounds. And we have 4 planets in retrograde as this happens, creating a sort of like a deep internal processing container space. And in terms of the energetic frequency, it's revolutionary completion meets extraordinary manifestation power, which is beyond normal cosmic, universal astrological boundaries. With Pluto out of bounds, it represents the most powerful manifestation window of 2025. Pluto being out of bounds as it goes direct, where transformation capabilities go beyond normal limits, whilst at the same time grounding revolutionary changes because it's direct, so it's in Capricorn as well. So think about the moment when the phoenix rises from the ashes, but instead of simply being reborn, it discovers it can fly beyond the known sky into unexplored dimensions, lands, territories, whatever. So at the same time, it also gains the power to manifest its vision in the physical world and allowing us to go beyond usual limitations and be able to evolve, to grow and manifest touchable things that we can actually see. So ultimately it affects us by giving us unparalleled opportunities for completing major life transformations whilst operating with increased abilities that go beyond typical normal human limits, right? And it's about becoming an agent of revolutionary transformation with the power to manifest lasting change in the world. So in summary, Pluto out of bounds in Capricorn on the 28th of August, intensifies structural routine transformation that allows us to go beyond our normal limits, and Pluto going direct on the 14th of October allows us to manifest these changes into touchable concrete reality into our day-to-day habits basically. So Capricorn's earthly foundation provides a practical energy for transformation. So now I'm just going to talk about Pluto's journey this year and how that's affected us this year. So Pluto entered its pre-shadow retrograde phase on January the 10th this year, and the pressure began building like a volcano preparing for eruption. And this pre-shadow phase initiated deep routine transformation where old power dynamics started revealing their inadequacies, their limits. We may have felt like, I just can't do this anymore. I don't want to be in this relationship, this job. I don't want to be this person anymore. I want to be my authentic self. And this energy, although may not have been felt strongly. It whispered that profound change was coming. And when Pluto went retrograde on the 4th of May, this symbolised the beginning of intensive internal self-reflection, digging, and the transformation energy turned inward. And this demanded the examination of our power dynamics, how we thought about power, how we didn't use our power, how we disempowered ourselves and others maybe, how we controlled ourselves and others, also our routine, our habits, our day-to-day sleep, eating, thought habits, our relationship habits, what required complete metamorphosis, change. And when Pluto goes out of bounds on the 28th of August, this is when everything becomes properly, sort of extraordinary, because it's still retrograde when Pluto goes out of bounds, out of the normal declination of 23.23, right? It goes beyond that. And this creates conditions for evolutionary breakthroughs, for us to start acting before Pluto goes direct on the things that we have felt over the past, 3 months while Pluto's been retrograde, giving us the chance for breakthroughs that I said, wouldn't normally happen under ordinary circumstances. And it operates like having cosmic superpowers for internal transformation work. And as Pluto goes direct on the 14th of October, it represents the ultimate turning point where all the internal transformation work suddenly becomes available for external manifestation. But because Pluto remains out of bounds until the 23rd of November, this manifestation power operates beyond normal limitations. So it's like having transformational superpowers for manifesting your life's most important evolutionary work in the physical world. So it's about taking all those insights that you found about the things you need to change and how you need to do it while Pluto is retrograde and doing it. And as Pluto leaves out of bounds, staying direct, returning to its normal limits, the changes that we've decided or started to make during this time can become permanently integrated into our day-to-day life and into our consciousness, right? So this helps us to change those toxic thought patterns and those subconscious reactions that make us turn to our intoxicating relationships, substance use and abuse and stuff like that. So as I said, when Pluto's out of bounds, it gives us the capability to go beyond our normal standard human experience, and it demands us to be more ethical with our responsibility. It brings revolutionary healing abilities. We can, see ourselves being able to heal things that we've been working on for decades rapidly, and we can have breakthroughs in our psychological and spiritual insights, and we can have improved manifestation capabilities that come up that support collective transformation and authentic power, integrating our power, not only supporting our own development but others' growth as well. So it increases our ability for restructuring our institutions, our corporate worlds, our careers and authority systems, because, Pluto is out of bounds in Capricorn. It helps us to grow in these areas. Revolutionary leadership can develop that transforms traditional hierarchies, chains of commands from within while maintaining valuable stability, because Capricorn, the mountain goal, it wants stability, but it also wants us to change the things in a methodical kind of manner. And it shows that our personal transformation becomes increased to serve collective healing on scales that were previously impossible. Negatively, it can lead to us being overwhelmed from operating beyond normal limits. Psychological crisis can happen from rapid consciousness expansion. We can just feel overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, all these changes, all the solutions to my problems are coming at once. What shall I do? We can feel isolated as our improved energy can intimidate unprepared individuals and people around us who are not ready for us to change so rapidly. Because some of you may go to bed one night, wake up the next night and be changed, and this can cause a spiritual emergency without proper guidance, where we just feel overly stressed and overwhelmed, So it's important to be gentle with yourself, do grounded exercises, get help, slow down if need be as well. And power struggles can intensify as our increased abilities can threaten existing routines, organizations and relationships, And we can just get confused because our established chains of command, ways of doing things in our relationships, in our organizations, in our routine, can make us feel like confused. And this can cause conflicts, with others or within ourselves as well. So the best use of this energy is to focus on developing healing or transformation abilities through ethical training, used increased sensitivity to help yourself and others, especially have breakthrough experiences or problem solving, and establish practices that ground your energy into practical service, Pluto out of bounds energy is about developing conscious leadership that serves collective evolution rather than personal ambition. We can use this to ground our abilities into sustainable service. Ultimately, Pluto out of bounds affects us by allowing us to exceed our usual limitations. It requires us to use wisdom, and it gives us the ability to make ethical choices and stay grounded in reality, even though it can kind of make us feel wild and really wanting to transform everything all at once, because it's out of bounds. It's out of its normal limits. It wants us to push, and it pushes us to transform at a more quicker rate than when Pluto's, retrograde or inbounds, ultimately. Now I'm going to talk about Pluto stationary direct. So this represents the ultimate manifestation moment where our accumulated transformational work becomes available for external reality creation. So in short, putting everything that we've learned during Pluto retrograde and out of bounds into day-to-day use in our daily habits and routines, right? So positively, it allows us to work on changing our professional life, our authority, the way we give and receive authority, and be more practical in the ways that we seek abundance that serves the collective good. And Capricorn's influence, its source, makes sure, that changes become sustainable rather than chaotic. So yeah, as I said, these manifestation abilities that come up when Pluto goes stationary direct while it's out of bounds enable the development for us to, complete transformations that can take typically decades to do. As I said, we may wake up one morning and be like, I'm ready to do the things I've been putting off for 10, 20 years. It allows us to do the shadow work and integrate all the shadow work and our weaknesses into practical changes that can change ourselves, step into authentic leadership, and gives us the ability to, positively change the things that need change in our life. I've observed that individuals who properly integrate this energy can become catalysts, change agents for transformation in the entire community, families, industry or field of influence, whether it be in relationships or friendship groups. Negatively, because we can feel overwhelmed from this accelerated energy and the manifestation and changes it can bring, and this can cause power struggles, once again, because our intense abilities can threaten existing systems, and the rapid integration of experiences can cause psychological stress, and there's a risk of misusing this power for personal gain rather than collective service. The opportunities that this energy, Pluto direct out of bounds, if we don't handle it responsibly, we can misuse it, and this can lead to authoritarian responses or inflexible control attempts, and this can just cause problems, right, in relationships within ourselves, causing chaos. So the best use of this energy is to manifest transformation into concrete real life changes, improvements, new career paths, reforming institutions, or creating revolution in business models that serve authenticity, especially in terms of authority rather than dominating others. So, try not to be involved in power struggles, sort out any internal power struggles within you, think about why you allow others to take your power away if you do that and dominate you, or if you, disempower others and dominate them while you do it. Complete projects, use your abilities to create positive change that serves collective healing, integrate all shadow work into revolutionary, practical, real life changes, and establish yourself as a conscious leader operating beyond conventional limitations. Think for yourself, but also be ethical in your choices. Don't go crazy with it and be bossing people or starting a cult or anything like that, So together, Pluto out of bounds and Pluto going direct gives us the chance to integrate unexpected transformation opportunities with the power of manifestation through practical daily habits and changes in our thoughts, relationships, and the journey from improved internal processing, which, Pluto retrograde gave us, to increase external manifestation, doing the work, changing the habits, creates opportunities for, evolutionary growth leaps that wouldn't be possible under ordinary astrological circumstances of Pluto being inbounds. The key to dealing with this rare period lies in being ethical while being open to capabilities, skills that exceed usual human limitations, ensuring that these enhanced abilities serve collective evolution rather than personal aggrandizement, flexing, showing off, So now I'm going to talk about the energies that are involved when Pluto is out of bounds and direct. So yeah, Pluto's involved, right? The planet of death, rebirth, transformation, and hidden power that rules profound change, regeneration, psychological depth, and evolution, change through crises and chaos and unexpected things. It rules Scorpio, and it reveals hidden truths and forces transformation through the destruction of outdated routines, habits and relationships, and out of bounds, means when a planet, in this case Pluto, goes beyond 23.27 declination, and this means that its energy operates beyond normal astrological limits, and this can give genius level transformation abilities, but it requires exceptional wisdom and ethical grounding to handle safely, because we can abuse this power, right? And when Pluto and when planets go direct after retrograde, this allows for us to use the internal processing energy, because retrograde is all about turning inward, and except if you were born in retrograde, you may actually use this power outwardly. But typically, retrograde, it's all about thinking, planning, and then when the planet goes direct, it's about making that external manifestation by changing your day-to-day habits and putting your plans into action. And it allows us to manifest deep, lasting transformation in the physical world. And the out of bounds combination with the direct allows us to complete life changes in months that typically require years, heal generational trauma patterns, rapid speed, and develop authentic power that serves, evolutionary change. And it isn't just about feeling more powerful, it's about becoming a conscious agent of revolutionary change with capabilities that operate beyond limitations while maintaining ethical responsibility for collective impact, Now I'm going to talk about the aspects that Pluto makes when it's out of bounds and goes direct. So first I'm going to deal with the aspects Pluto makes when it goes out of bounds on the 28th of August. So the first aspect is the Sun's biquintile to Pluto, nice sort of energy. So it gives us creative genius transformation, adding to the ability that Pluto out of bounds does anyway. So it adds to us being able to find creative solutions to profound challenges that seemed impossible under normal circumstances, and it makes us lead in such a way that helps and supports others' growth, but negatively it can add to the ego inflation that comes from increased power, creating spiritual superiority. We can use our abilities for personal recognition rather than genuine service, and create destruction without conscious reconstruction, rebuilding, recreation, Venus also makes an opposition to Pluto, so it brings revolution to our love dynamics, vibes, relationships, allowing us to use love as a vehicle for mutual growth that goes beyond conventional relationship possibilities, which can strengthen our bonds, but negatively can add to the power struggles in relationships and intensify normal conflict levels. We can become overly obsessive and controlling, and relationships can be destroyed by the intensity of this transformation, right? Saturn makes a sextile to Pluto. So again, this adds to revolutionary change. It makes change practical, and change in our institution and governments can happen that serve the collective growth process, and it allows us to be responsible in the limits that we set and the day-to-day routines that we do too. Negatively, it can add to the resistance to us being willing to change, especially governments and corporate institutions and stuff like that may resist this change, and this can cause a crisis, and they can be kind of like controlling, authoritarian, dominating responses to change, and there can be people being too rigid and controlling, and this can get in the way of, the growth transformation process by people saying you must change in this way or you got to do it in this limit, So we just need to watch out for that, remembering that everyone's got different temperaments, that we all change at different paces, and time scales, so be mindful of that. Uranus makes a trine to Pluto, so again it adds to us being able to solve things and to have breakthroughs and to transform the methods and techniques that we use. Technology can also help us change the things that need to change in a positive way, but negatively adds to the chaotic energy and us not being able to integrate this energy properly, and this can be overwhelming as we find it hard to accept change, and we can sort of like use innovation, newness, technology to serve destruction rather than evolution and growth, Neptune also makes a sextile to Pluto, so this allows our spiritual experiences to support intense transformation and mystical abilities that can really be rapidly developed, and we can have a calm, passionate, empathetic approach to change, but negatively it can add to us being immature and spiritual bypassing of the necessary psychological and spiritual and physical work, and emotional work as well, and we can confuse mystical experience with genuine growth and evolution, and we can just be victims, through transformation intensity, because we feel intense, we're just like, oh my gosh, it's just too much, and we can just fall into being a victim and complaining rather than trying to solve the problem and empowering ourselves. So in terms of the aspects that Pluto makes when it goes direct on the 14th of October, the moon makes an opposition to Pluto. So this allows us to balance emotional wisdom with the need to change, right? And also adds to the intuitive understanding of being able to use this power responsibly, and upgrades our emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence, and allows us to use this energy in a productive way. But negatively, it can add to the emotional overwhelming feelings, family dramas, and mood swings that can affect crucial decision making. Venus makes a trine to Pluto, so positively it adds love and beauty and allows us to bring it into our relationships that can support us right now rather than compete and cause problems with our transformation work. And it just makes us be more open to aesthetics and pleasantries and helping each other in nice ways. But negatively, we can use people pleasing and codependency to avoid necessary transformation work, and we can just be superficial in our appreciation for beauty, and this can cover up, mass deeper power dynamics, and we can avoid conflict that would help growth if we face it, and Jupiter makes an opposition to Pluto. So this gives us visionary capacity, and it can match our improved manifestation abilities, allowing us to teach and share wisdom and to use this energy wisely, serving collective education and growth. But negatively, grandiose, over-the-top, bougie plans can go beyond practical follow-through ability, and this can overwhelm others with the intensity that we can kind of try to get our message across, and we can just feel that we're more spiritually awake or woke or more philosophical or better than other people right now because of this energy. So we have to watch out for ego, while this is happening over the next sort of 3 months. Uranus makes a trine to Pluto, so this allows us to have innovative solutions that support breakthrough methods for bringing transformation into real life practical changes, but we can just negatively change for the sake of it rather than it serving genuine transformation needs. So just changing things just to be different or to cause trouble because you're bored, and we can use technology to bypass the necessary psychological, emotional and spiritual work that needs to be done. Neptune makes a set star to Pluto, so this allows us to manifest the things that we need to manifest into touchable reality, and we can be more compassionate in our actions and follow through of change, but negatively it can add to the confusion between spiritual idealism and practical manifestation requirements. We can avoid material world responsibilities through focusing too much on our spirituality. In terms of aspect patterns, when Pluto goes direct, it's making a T-square with Chiron, the Moon, the Sun and Jupiter. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about what a T-square is in astrology and the positives and negatives of a transiting T-square. So a T-square in astrology is when 3 or more planets. Normally some people count points. I will only count a point such as the moon's north node if it was conjunct a planet like Venus at the same degree, something like that in a T-square. I wouldn't necessarily include it on its own. So yeah, a T-square is when 3 or more planets form a right angled triangle in the transit chart, and this configuration involves 2 planets being involved each other, creating tension, and a third planet squares both of the opposing planets, and this is why it's called a T-square, because it looks like a T. And the positives of a transiting T-square include increased motivation for growth and change, opportunities for self-awareness and transformation, and the potential for breakthroughs in difficult situations. It can act as a catalyst for personal development and push us outside of our comfort zones. Negatively, we can struggle with decision making due to the conflicting energies. We can experience a heightened emotional intensity leading to stress or anxiety and challenges in communication and our relationships. And it can also kind of bring eternal conflict to some of us as well, because of the external obstacles that come, or the internal thoughts of unresolved psychological, emotional and spiritual trauma that can come up. And dealing with these issues internally or externally that come up can require patience and resilience to overcome. So yeah, this adds to the emotional healing that can happen, and the transformation and manifestation that can happen through healing wounds, which is represented by Chiron, through emotional wisdom represented by the moon, and authentic leadership, which is represented by the sun, and our expanded consciousness that's represented by the Jupiter energy. And this can force us to change too much rather than the gradual evolution that we should be doing. But really, this energy is really pushing us out of our comfort zone, and it's about using it ethically and being open to the rapid change, especially if you've been working to do something for years and years without any or much outward forward movement, because the inner work is important, creating the stability within so we can move externally into the person we came on earth to be. There's also a grand trine, 43% orb, so it's really, really strong. So now I'm going to talk about what a grand trine is in astrology, the positives and negatives of a transiting grand trine. So a grand trine in astrology is when 3 planets are in an equilateral triangle and they're each approximately 122 degrees apart. And this configuration creates a harmonious flow of energy between the 3 planets involved, enchanting their respective qualities. So positively, it can increase our creativity and productivity, and it can bring more emotional balance and stability into our life, especially in challenging times. So it's a nice, easy energy to work with. It can bring increased intuition and insight, so we can gain deeper insights into our life path and decisions, and this can help us make more informed choices and just become more balanced and stable within as well. But negatively, we can lack motivation and complacency because, trine energy comes easy, it's harmonious, not challenging, and this can cause us to be passive and unmotivated in going after our goals. This is why a lot of individuals with a lot of trines in their chart, trine and harmonious aspects like sextiles cannot use them because everything can come so easily. They're not aware and they can miss their opportunities, thinking they'll always come. There can also be an overemphasis on our comfort zone, and we can rely too heavily on what we know rather than newness, and this can make us be stagnant and miss opportunities. It supports us in being open to love and beauty and upgrading our value system and being new in terms of the way we solve problems and express ourselves, and our love and values represented by Venus align with our transformation power represented by Pluto, and this allows us to make breakthroughs in what needs changing, which is represented by Uranus energy ray, and this creates a nice flowing energy that can help us manifest positive change without resistance or struggle. So we're being really supported on the energetic level here. So now I'm going to talk about the Sabian symbol. So when Pluto goes out of bounds and direct, it's in the 8th degree of Capricorn, which, as I said, has the Sabian symbol, birds in the house singing happily. It's about finding joy within routine, transformation, and within established systems, routines, organisations, because sometimes we do want to change things, of course, but sometimes we can stop ourselves from experience this sort of joy and happiness because things ain't exactly how we want them to be. So it wants us to realise that revolutionary change improves rather than destroys existing or valuable foundations, It wants us to create more happiness within necessary responsibilities. So you may have a responsibility to turn up to your job every day to pay your bills and stuff like that. And of course this may not be ideal, but it's about making a plan to get yourself out of the circumstances you don't like while coming to at least be comfortable with them for the time being, so you can, experience happiness in life, Psychologically, it wants us to integrate the feeling of increased freedom with practical discipline, where our unexpected abilities, like we may have found hidden talents, can thrive, do well within conscious routine rather than chaotic rebellion, change for change's sake, just being I don't want to do this no more, I don't care that I've got a mortgage or I have to pay the bills. And sometimes we need that. Sometimes if you've got a solid plan, hey, go ahead and do what you need to do, but also make sure you're prepared for the consequences, and make sure if you are deciding to blow your whole house down, that you've got a plan to improve it and to go after a long held dream of yours or something like that. Plan strategically to do the rapid changes. So as I said, positively, Pluto out of bounds develops our transformation abilities that improve our life systems, routines and organisations. And Pluto going direct allows us to find the joy in practical reality while maintaining the stability that we need to go through our changes. And it reminds us that authentic power develops through integrated responsibility rather than destructive rebellion. But negatively, we can feel trapped by our systems, our routines, our organisations, our job, despite our increased abilities, and we can find it hard to accept happiness within the necessary limitations right now, using the power of transformation to escape all responsibility rather than consciously developing ourselves to accept our responsibilities while coming up with and working through a plan to overcome them, In terms of the esoteric hidden meanings, it can increase our mystical abilities, allowing us to integrate spiritual discipline and service, and Pluto going direct allows us to grounds to stabilize these spiritual insights into practical healing. And this sacred power operates through committed practice rather than a spiritual bypassing. So facing our life challenges and working within them, which is the main theme of this energy, right? But negatively, we can avoid our responsibilities and we can just fall into spiritual materialism, focusing on my shiny new crystals or my spiritual clothing, look how spiritual I am, rather than doing the inner work, We can also create inflexible systems which overpower our authentic expression as well. And we can just use, the talents, what we uncover or the power we feel to just avoid and to start cults, as I said, and abuse ourselves and others. So we need to watch out for that. In terms of the health influences, both of them, Pluto out of bounds and direct, wants us to choose the right routines and daily habits and thought patterns that support change. And emotionally, the challenge it brings is that we can feel emotionally restricted despite us feeling increased in our skill set or this increased energy, Spiritually, we can develop our abilities and skill through disciplined practice, day-to-day routine, but conflicts between spiritual freedom and material responsibility and will require conscious integration for us to not fall into the trap of escaping life right now or misusing our power. Physically, the lymphatic system supports transformation and detoxification when joy and structure, routine are balanced, and our knee health reflects flexibility in manifesting increased abilities and abundance. Psychologically, it reminds us of the healthy integration of freedom with practical responsibility and to focus on commitment. But it can also bring commitment anxiety, even though we have the ability to change. So we just need to do things that we can to help us stay grounded in healthy ways, and to think out of the box and to work on manifestation by taking that practical energy and make sure we include a sense of beauty and creativity in all that we do, as well as maintaining spiritual, professional, emotional, psychological effectiveness, and develop systems, life systems, routines that support increased responsibility and authentic personal freedom. Focus on movement, massage and hydration, and detoxing through water, healthy foods and flexibility exercises, Tai Chi, yoga, rebounding, going for walks, to confront any physical tension from feeling restricted. And ultimately, this symbol of the bird in the house singing represents soul freedom, freedom that comes from within, finding authentic expression by creating the right routines and working within limitations rather than destroying what's necessary for stability, and, making sure you don't just rebel for the sake of it. In terms of the financial meanings, it gives us unusual abilities for wealth creation through revolutionary business models, as I said, healing services. So it's good for starting a consultancy, whether it be becoming an astrologer or a healer in some way, and using technology to serve collective evolution and to make your day-to-day tasks easier. When Pluto goes direct, it allows us to bring innovations into sustainable abundance, financial making strategies, so we can create financial success that proves consciousness, ethics, being ethic and caring about others, and profit making money can work together harmoniously, and this increased manifestation power attracts resources needed for collective service projects, revolutionary investments, or enterprises that transform entire industries. But negatively, financial structures can collapse as improved abilities make previous income sources feel inadequate or misaligned with evolved values. So again, don't be reckless with it. Don't just walk out in your career, especially if you've got a family and you've got things to pay. But again, as I said, for some of you, blowing your whole house down, going away from a career that's making you unhappy may be the best thing for your mental health. You can also feel financially overwhelmed from too many manifestation opportunities without the proper management, routine and systems and awareness. And we can also attract wealth for the wrong reasons, or using money as validation of increased abilities rather than serving the collective good as well. And existing financial institutions may resist or sabotage revolutionary approaches to wealth creation as well. In terms of political meanings, Pluto out of bounds energy challenges corrupt political systems, and it going direct manifests authentic leadership that serves collective evolution rather than personal power. It improves abilities that help us sort of like come up with new political changes and innovations and government models and grassroots movements that transform entire political environments for the collective. And authentic authority can develop through integrated shadow work and ethical use of resources. Negatively, political struggles can intensify as improved abilities threaten existing chains of commands, and this can lead to authoritarian responses or attempts to suppress, get in the way of change. There can also be a risk of political manipulation rather than genuine service, and improved transformation abilities can be overwhelming in existing political structures, and this can create chaos rather than conscious evolution and growth. And there just can be messianic, holier than down, I am the chosen one, political leaders syndromes, and this can lead to spiritual bypassing of practical political responsibility. In terms of the social collective meanings, as I said, it improves our ability for helping each other, and Pluto going direct helps us to use these gifts and this improved energy levels into touchable social improvements. This includes revolutionary approaches to community building, social healing or collective consciousness, and expansion can become particularly viable good. It improves our manifestation power, allowing us to create positive social change that serves collective evolution, and this can transform entire communities, industries or cultural beliefs, paradigms through authentic service. But negatively, social isolation can increase as improved energy intimidates unprepared individuals, and this can create difficulty relating to normal consciousness levels, and it can just be a sense of feeling overwhelmed because of this energy, and this can create resistance, jealousy or attempts to get in the way of change, and people can just misuse the power of transformation to escape social responsibility rather than serve conscious collective service. In terms of the psychological meanings, it can speed up our psychological healing, improving our self-awareness, and this can create authentic confidence. This can lead to breakthrough in trauma healing and integration of subtle aspects that typically require decades of work. Psychological insights can manifest through practical life improvements, revolutionary therapeutic approaches or healing methods that serve collective psychological growth. Negatively, it can lead to us feeling psychologically overwhelmed from the rapid consciousness growth beyond normal limits. It can create spiritual emergencies or identity crises as old concepts of ourself dissolve. We can sort of like have psychological inflation from greater abilities or avoiding the integration work through spiritual bypassing, and it can just create unrealistic expectations or difficulty accepting unusual human limitations in psychological development processes. Because yes, we can grow at rapid rates, but sometimes with 10 steps forward, we can take 100 back, right? And in terms of the overall hidden meanings, it just allows us to awaken extraordinary mystical abilities, and it allows us to have breakthrough spiritual experiences, helping others with their awakening, and occult knowledge allows us to kind of integrate with practical service, but we just need to watch out for showing off. And spiritual gifts can manifest as touchable healing abilities that prove mystical wisdom's practical value, but there can be a risk of misusing our abilities as well, and using occult knowledge for manipulation and control rather than genuine service. In terms of the symbolic meanings, it can just allow us to use our creativity beyond conventional limits when Pluto is out of bounds and have a more impact in the real world, and we can create revolutionary art that serves collective healing and have breakthrough creative methods that supports others' transformation. It also allows us to generate sustainable income while serving collective consciousness growth through authentic creative expression. Negatively, it can lead to creative overwhelm from improved inspiration that goes beyond practical manifestation capabilities, and this can create artistic isolation as our creative energy can intimidate creative communities that are existing, because you creating newness and going beyond the bounds of normal creative or art expression. There's a risk of using creative gifts for personal ego rather than collective service, and creative expression becoming performative rather than authentic. And these improved abilities can overwhelm us as well, and this can create resistance or difficulty finding appropriate outlets for your creative expression right now, which can be quite revolutionary. So in terms of karmic meanings and lessons, it teaches us that some soul contracts require operating beyond normal human limits to complete evolutionary work that's intended to serve creative healing. So sometimes you have to walk that path alone, Positively, it allows us to gain mastery in our past life lessons that we're meant to be learning in this life, and it reawakens our increased power, and it can create higher consciousness level evolutionary leaps. Negatively, shadow work can intensify beyond normal limits, and karmic depths may demand immediate resolution. So all our karma can come knocking at once, and this can be overwhelming. So it's important to be open to operating beyond conventional limits whilst maintaining ethical responsibility for collective impact in terms of past life memories and dreams of shamanic or other initiations, mystical schools involvement, revolutionary movements or extraordinary healing work. Lifetimes can begin, soul up or become more strong as your soul remembers incarnations where you use power beyond normal limits, so making it safe for you to use it now. But we have to watch out for manipulating energy, and this sort of transformational energy can reactivate lifetimes where manipulated energy in a negative way, but positively it can help us gain that wisdom on how to manipulate our energy in a good way that helps heal ourselves and others in ethical ways. But past trauma from persecution, lifetimes where you were hurt because of your power, or you misuse your power, can come to your mind, and this can cause overwhelm. But what it really needs you to do is to heal it. You can work with experienced guides or people that can help you understand these experiences, or seek out resources, books, podcasts, to help you stay grounded. Take some time out to be in nature. In terms of the collective karma, it helps us to learn to integrate extraordinary individual abilities with collective service. It allows us to be open to revolutionary approaches to serve collective growth, but power imbalances can intensify as some operate beyond normal limits while others remain unconscious to disability. Use these increased abilities to lift others up rather than create a hierarchy, Pekka order of chain of command, separating yourself from others and thinking you're better and thinking you're superior. Use it to bond, to bring together. So now I'm just going to talk about how Pluto out of bounds and direct affect our relationships on the deeper level. So in terms of family relationships, it can help us heal generational trauma. Family secrets can come up for healing, and it can lead to, out of the ordinary healing opportunities and increased abilities to help heal generational dysfunction patterns that have affected multiple generations, Actively, family power dynamics can explode as your or other people in your families that evolve energy threatens existing control systems, routines and organisation, Relatives may become intimidated or resistant to transformation, so it's important to introduce your increased abilities gradually. Not everyone can handle extraordinary energy immediately, So positively, when Pluto's direct, again, it allows us to follow through and new family dynamics, creating lasting change, and manifestation power can add to family harmony. But negatively, the rapid manifestation of change in the family systems can overwhelm members unprepared for transformation, and your increased capabilities may create family jealousy or competition. So use this power to create win-win family solutions rather than personal advantage. Friendships, when Pluto's out of bounds, they can deepen beyond ordinary friendship levels, turning them into spiritual alliances. Friends can become co-conspirators in mutual transformation. Negatively, the increased energy may overwhelm friends operating at normal consciousness levels, and friendship circles may dramatically change as you outgrow previous connections. To trust the natural selection process while maintaining compassion for friends unable to match your evolutionary pace. When Pluto's direct, it again allows us to be mutually supportive, and our manifestation abilities can attract soul, family and genuine connections through deepened shared experiences. But negatively, it can just attract friends interested in your abilities rather than authentic connection, and your success can create friendship jealousy. So it's important to use improved abilities to uplift friends rather than create dependency or, superiority. In co-worker relationships, workplace transformation can happen through leadership abilities. Colleagues can experience breakthrough insights through increased influence on each other, but negatively, again, your abilities may threaten existing workplace power and routines, and colleagues may resist or sabotage evolved approaches, so it's important to, again, build changes in slowly to make sure change is positive, right? When Pluto's direct, relationships can benefit from improved manifestation abilities, and workplace improvements can manifest through leadership and team dynamics that are used positively and evolved, naturally. But negatively, success can create jealousy professionally once again, and the change may lead to people having unrealistic expectations or intimidating. So it's important to share credit generously and mentor others rather than hoard increased abilities. Committed couples, it allows intimacy to reach new depths that would have been impossible under normal circumstances. There can be mutual transformation. Negatively, the increased transformation abilities can overwhelm partners unable to match evolutionary pace, and the relationship intensity can go beyond the partner's comfort zones. So it's important to create conscious spaces for shared abilities and just share your abilities, and, make sure, even if things may be unequal, consciously that you bring mutual respect and try to bring equality into relationships. When Pluto's direct, again, it can make practical improvements in our daily life and create abundance and harmony in our relationships as well. But again, the power imbalance may cause problems again, making, each other or one person may feel inadequate compared to someone's increased ability, so jealousy can come in. So it's important to include your partner in manifestation processes and ensure relationships benefits and serve both people equally. In terms of hookup relationships, when Pluto's out of bounds, casual encounters may become unexpectedly transformative. Sexual healing experiences can go beyond normal physical pleasure and turn into spiritual awakening, but the leveled up energy may create obsessive dynamics in casual connections, and the intensity may overwhelm partners seeking simple physical pleasure. So it's important to be transparent about your increased energy and ensure that casual partners can handle intensity levels. When Pluto's direct, sexual manifestation abilities may lead to extraordinary, intimate, more in sync, intimate experiences, and casual connections can unexpectedly develop into meaningful relationships for some of you. But negatively, we have to be careful about the ethics, because the increased attraction may create unintended emotional bonds, so it's important to practice conscious consent and clear communication about energy levels and expectations. Don't lead anyone on, and make sure you ask the right questions and don't ignore red flags. For singles and self-partnered, this positive transformation can become so profound that you naturally attract relationships aligned with your evolved self, and your self-discovery can really accelerate right now, but the increased energy may intimidate potential partners, and isolation can deepen as you outgrow previous social circles and dating approaches. So use solitude for developing increased abilities whilst maintaining some social connection to avoid complete isolation. And when Pluto goes direct, it can attract ideal partnership opportunities, and you can make touchable improvements to your quality of life, but negatively, the manifestation power may attract relationships for the wrong reasons, and increased capabilities may create unrealistic relationship expectations. So manifest relationships based on authentic compatibility rather than impressive abilities or material success, to keep the balance. In terms of career development, it can bring revolutionary career opportunities that require above average transformation skills, and leadership roles that demand improved capabilities can become more available. So great for career changes. Hidden talents for healing, psychology or transformation work can be awakened beyond normal limits, but negatively, career systems and routines and organisation may collapse as increased abilities make previous work feel inadequate. There can be power struggles with authority figures, and your professional identity can undergo a complete change, and this can be scary. So be open to career uncertainty as you change, because your work is transforming to match unusual skills meant for collective service. So be gentle with yourself. When Pluto goes direct in terms of career, again, it brings improved abilities that can create profitable opportunities for leadership positions that are more aligned with your sole purpose, but it can again overwhelm you because there can be too many opportunities, and your success may attract attention before you're prepared for public visibility. So ground career manifestations in authentic service rather than personal ambition to ensure long-term success. In terms of your personal development, it allows for breakthrough psychological insights that can speed up your shadow work and healing and spiritual gifts and authentic self-expression. But again, the overwhelm that can happen as you let go of old concepts can cause identity crises, and you can have intense confrontation with your shadow aspects that need you to reach out for professional support because you just feel overwhelmed. When Pluto goes direct, it brings opportunity for life improvements and psychological insights that can be integrated into practical wisdom and increased self-awareness that can create authentic confidence. But this rapid growth negatively can overtake your ability to integrate the changes, so slow down to avoid your ego growing too big, and make sure you ground yourself as well and remain humble to maintain a healthy perspective on your rapid growth and personal development. In terms of spiritual development, mystical experiences can go beyond normal spiritual development. Your psychic abilities can grow quickly and you can feel more connected to transformative wisdom. But again, the rapid awakening can cause problems, so make sure once again you ground others and remember that mystical gifts are meant to heal others, not feed your personal specialness or you feeling superior than others. And when Pluto goes direct again, it strengthens our spiritual service and gifts, allowing us to use them in practical real life situations. But again, it may make us start a cult and have a Masonic complex like Jesus reincarnated and all of that, and your spiritual success may attract followers for the wrong reason, so just watch out for that. Use spiritual manifestations to serve others rather than build a personal spiritual empire. In terms of educational development, we can learn to, teach others and teach ourselves and learn things at rapid rates, We can learn things more quickly, and we can just have the ability to go deep with the subjects that we want to learn. So esoteric, occult symbols and stuff like that can be learned more quickly. Negatively, traditional educational systems and routines and organizations may feel inadequate, and we may have a rebellious attitude towards conventional learning, and we can have an overwhelming desire to study dangerous subjects without guidance, So make sure you seek mentors if you need it, who understand both esoteric wisdom and practical application of it, to avoid dangerous learning without qualified guidance. And when Pluto goes direct in terms of education development, again, it gives us the chance for practical teaching and learning opportunities where we can share wisdom in an in-depth way, but negatively we can feel overwhelmed and we can get intellectual pride from our increased understanding and feel like we're better than others. So it's just important to, focus on educational subjects that serve collective healing rather than personal intellectual flexing, showing off, In terms of our self-partner development, our solar transformation work can reach new depths. Solitude can become more extraordinary, fertile for developing increased abilities. Shamanic or healing gifts can emerge through isolation, time alone, but negatively the isolation can intensify dramatically, and we can have a difficulty relating to normal consciousness level, and this can add to us feeling superior spiritually, and antisocial tendencies can develop. So it's important to balance solitude work with conscious service. Even profound hermit work must eventually serve collective healing, right? So when Pluto goes direct, our solo development work can manifest through touchable results in our external life and creating magnetic attraction for aligned relationships, and our solitude work can become the foundation for effective service to ourselves and others. But again, it can add to the isolation through us feeling superior to others, and our manifestation abilities may reduce motivation for human connection. So it's important to use solar development opportunities and achievements as preparation for increased service rather than permanent isolation from human connection, Now I'm just going to sum up with the best activities to do with Pluto out of bounds and direct. So in terms of if you're more creative, create art or any other writing, music, documentary films, whatever, that act to serve collective healing and go beyond normal limits. Don't be afraid to think outside of the box and use your creativity to heal collective trauma rather than make it worse or just focus on using it for yourself. When Pluto goes direct, your creative visions can manifest into touchable reality, and have a deep impact. Create creative platforms that serve collective transformation and ground artistic insights into practical healing. Launch creative projects that generate sustainable income while serving collective growth, and use manifestation power to create art that changes the world rather than just expressing personal creativity. Professionals, when Pluto's out of bound, step into leadership roles, that can help sort of like professional change, creating innovative approaches in your industry and pioneering, being a leader of new methods that serve collective growth. When Pluto's direct, manifest your personal vision into concrete business success, establish companies or practices that serve collective transformation, ground innovative ideas into profitable enterprises, create a professional legacy that serves future generation, manifest professional success that lifts entire industries rather than just your personal career advancement. Entrepreneurs use this to develop products when Pluto's out of bounds, and services that go beyond market restrictions, create enterprises that challenge existing industry standards, and start business models that serve evolutionary conscious development rather than just profit. Use your entrepreneur skills and vision in a way that shows leadership. When Pluto's direct, use this energy to, practically put sustainable business models into practice, create companies that become templates for conscious capitalism, establishing enterprises that generate sustainable abundance while serving collective healing, showing that consciousness and profit can work together in balance. Alternative healers, when Pluto's out of bounds, develop advanced healing techniques that go beyond conventional therapy limits, create healing methods that, support next level client transformation, work with individuals experience spiritual emergencies or rapid awakening, establish training programs for ethical use of increased healing abilities, and just, know that your healing abilities are going beyond normal limits, or can do if you tap into this energy, because anything that I've said, right, it's all about applying. You have to apply it, but make sure you stick to your ethics right and prevent harm while maximizing healing potential. When Pluto's direct, again, your healing practice should be channeled into things that, are touchable in terms of community impact. Establish healing centers that serve collective transformation, ground advanced healing techniques into practical real life use, create sustainable healing businesses that prove alternative medicine's effectiveness. Use your manifestation power to legitimize and expand alternative healing rather than just building a personal practice. For lovers, use this energy to create a space where improved abilities can develop and you can become more consciously committed to intimacy. and making your love serve the collective healing and each other's healing, and support each other through intense consciousness expansion. So, your love can operate beyond normal relationship limits. Use this gift to be the model, prototype, if you like, for evolutionary partnership. And when Pluto's direct, again, you can ground your love insights into touchable relationship improvements, create a partnership that generates abundance, serving the collective good, proving that extraordinary love can create practical success and collective service at the same time. Singles, you can use this energy to prepare for evolved relationship, heal relationship patterns that operate beyond, normal timelines, create supportive networks capable of handling increased energy, and become the wholeness you want to attract in partnership. So be the best lover to yourself. So this is how you get the best lover, right? And prepare for relationships that match your evolution, rather than be complaining about no one can reach your limits, or your needs, meet your own needs first. And this is how you can attract the perfect partner for you. And when Pluto goes direct again, it allows you to do the work to attract a aligned partnership by creating a healthy relationship, as I said, with yourself, ground yourself, development insights into practical magnetism to attract a conscious partnership, create a lifestyle that demonstrates readiness for evolved love, because a lot of the time we say we want things, but we're not it ourselves, and this is not how it works, So use your manifestation power to create a life so aligned that extraordinary love becomes inevitable rather than desperately sought, In terms of questions to ask yourself while Pluto is direct and out of bounds, you can ask yourself, how do I responsibly integrate operating beyond normal human limits whilst maintaining ethical service to collective healing? And this is important because we have to stay ethical to use this extraordinary energy appropriately. So we need to develop guidelines for using our increased healing abilities or manifestation power in service rather than personal gain. We can ask ourselves, what support systems can handle the intensity of my increased transformation capabilities, Also, what relationships can handle this as well. And it's important to find mentors or to make sure, you don't use this to feel that you're better than anyone else. Some relationships you may need to let go of, like I said, or, someone may let go of you. You can ask, how do I balance fast-paced personal growth with maintaining healthy relationships with those who operate at a normal consciousness level? So this is important because increased abilities can create isolation if not consciously integrated with compassionate service. So it's important to do that, learning to discern insights appropriately without overwhelming others or creating a spiritual hierarchy or chain of command that's destructive, So in conclusion, when Pluto goes out of bounds and direct, it allows us to manifest rapidly deep transformation, tapping into that energy that gives you the power to say, you know what, I've been trying to do this for years and years, now is the time, now is the hour. Obviously, you have to tap into this energy to go beyond normal cosmic limits, but it gives you the power at the same time to ground extraordinary change into practical reality while going beyond these normal limits. So be open to operating beyond conventional and normal limits whilst maintaining ethical responsibility, not thinking you're better than anyone else, being respectful for anyone who's not your pace, not faking it, being authentic and trusting that your increased transformation and manifestation capabilities are meant to serve evolutionary change rather than personal flexing, showing off, And the Pluto out of bounds direct energy gives us the opportunity to complete soul level work intended to benefit collective healing. But the challenge comes moments when we can become overwhelmed by this energy, even though, you know, we want it, we can abuse it as well. So we need to remember that Pluto's out of bounds energy gives us genius level transformational abilities, but we have to learn to use this power responsibly, ensuring that personal evolution growth serves the collective good. And you know, I've repeated that a lot because this is important. Rather than creating separation, superiority, thinking you're better than others, or destructive chains of command. So remember, all in all, right now, this is giving you the chance to live through astrological conditions that support revolutionary, quick, fast-paced growth evolution beyond normal human limits. Trust the process while maintaining wisdom and having compassion and ethical responsibility for the extraordinary impact of your increased abilities, you know. So yeah, that's the end of this in-depth special on Pluto out of bounds and going direct. I'm Amani, your karmic astrological life coach. Take care and see you next time. Thanks for listening, guys.